Georgia wins 43-35 over Ole Miss.
Yes.
This was the highest ranked matchup of the day. Two top 10 teams going at it. I think I had Ole Miss. Did you have Georgia in this one? Did you pick Georgia?
I think I had Ole Miss covering.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't remember who I had winning. I did not see this going 43-35. I can tell you that with certainty.
No. Damn. Yeah. Talk about a shootout, my friend. Good hell. Defense was extremely optional in this game. You did not need to bring defense if you wanted to win this game. Ole Miss could not stop anything. Georgia was at least able to contain the run and put the game on the arm of Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad Chambliss was solid for the most part. I thought he played another pretty good game. Eventually, Georgia found a way to kind of lock him down in the fourth quarter. They got a couple stops. It was just enough to give them that separation and eventually win again by 8 points. What were your impressions of this game? This was kind of back and forth. There were a lot of points. It did not go the way I expected. I thought this would be lower scoring, more defensive minded. And I have thoughts on that we can discuss, but what were your takeaways?
Basically, that the Georgia defense, when they needed to make plays in the fourth quarter, was absolutely everywhere. They were getting hands and arms and limbs in the way of passes. They were making plays on the ground. We came in and discussed that what Georgia has done well on defense, which hasn't been, a big thing for them succeeding on defense this season. They have stopped the run. And where Ole Miss has succeeded against the better defenses that they've played against this year, it's been Kawan Lacey on the ground, Trinidad Chambliss scrambling, and there was nothing there against this Georgia team.
No.
And that was for the majority of the game. There were plays here and there, but that was not anything that Ole Miss could hang their hats on. And the biggest takeaway, and I don't know how there's anything else here to take away, is that Gunner Stockton is a closer. He is an absolute nails closer.
That's exactly what I wrote down.
And so just, not turning the ball over, making plays, improvising with his legs, with his arms downfield, spreading the ball around. The play calling seemed to be more varied than usual from Mike Bobo, finding ways to get receivers the ball in a variety of different looks. That there was just something about Georgia finishing. And there were times, and it was not always for Ole Miss. It just seemed that the Georgia legs were more active. There was more electricity to the Georgia legs on both sides of the ball in the fourth quarter than Ole Miss at times. And I don't know if that's a home field thing. I don't know if that's a confidence thing. I don't know if that's an exhaustion thing from Ole Miss, but there was something about, there was some sort of buzzing that came across on screen about where Georgia's energy level was late that really came through the screen for me. And so Gunner Stockton was incredible. He was an absolute closer. And for them to do that in this kind of back and forth, where it actually really looked like Ole Miss was going to win this game.
They thought so too.
Coming up with big plays. It was Dejon Stribling, who I think that Oklahoma State transfer, right? They're utilizing different dudes in different ways. Trey Wallace, and it looked like they were going to go in there and steal it. And to Georgia's credit, they just wouldn't allow it.
Gunner Stockton was 26 of 31 passing for 4 touchdowns. He also added 10 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown on the ground. One thing that jumped out to me, and it occurred again as I watched Alabama knock off Tennessee this evening. Some of the best versions of Georgia and Alabama that we've seen over the years gave off this aura of inevitability.
Yep.
Now, it's different. It's different this time around. Okay, I don't think anybody thinks Georgia or Alabama are bulletproof. That was how it used to feel. Maybe in the modern era with NIL and the transfer portal and all that, that's kind of gone by the wayside. But there is a different sense of inevitability with these two teams. In fact, the only time we didn't see it is when they played each other. But when they're playing everybody else, you just get this sense, especially with Georgia, because we've seen it a couple times now, they're just going to figure out a way to do it.
Right.
They're just going to figure out a way to do it. And that was my overarching impression of this Georgia team. They've been in a couple games like this now where the defense goes out the window. They just need an extra stop. They just need a big play. As you say often, winning is a skill.
It is a skill.
And However, Georgia is getting these wins, okay? Whether it's by scoring 43 points or 20 points, I mean, they have really been adaptable to the situation. And they now find themselves where they knocked off a top 5 team. They've only got one loss. They're clearly going to catapult up a couple notches at least in the polls, if not end up as a top 5 team when the latest batch of polls come out. This is one of those teams that's very formidable now. Not to say that there was any impression that they wouldn't be. It is still Georgia. But the ways that they are winning these games, you could definitely take one in a vacuum and say, they got a little bit lucky there.
Sure.
But we are starting to see more and more of this from Georgia. It doesn't mean that they're bulletproof, but it does mean that they are good at finding ways to get the dub. And I think they need to be commended for that. I really do. This was a good Ole Miss team. This is an Ole Miss team that's going to continue winning a bunch of games. I agree. I thought for a while there they were going to end up stealing this one from Georgia. But Georgia finds a way.
Georgia has treated this season as if they are playing an old RPG. I didn't play a lot of RPGs, but they're collecting gemstones and shields and weapons in creeks and in forests and in general stores. However they need to assemble everything that they find along their journey, they're doing it. Whether it's the Tennessee game, whether it's the Auburn game, whether it's the Ole Miss game, they're finding ways to sort of fill up their win satchel, Ty. Thank you. I, Dan Rubenstein, I'm running to be your college. Okay, continue.
43-35 was your final. Really, really nice win for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting to look at what Georgia has left. Okay, we're only about halfway through the season now, maybe a little bit over it, depending on the team, but like they've got a Florida team still on the schedule in a rivalry spot. They're on the road at Mississippi State. They're home against Texas. They're home against Charlotte. They've got a neutral site game to close out the year against Georgia Tech. There's a pretty good chance that the most losable game on that remaining slate is a non-conference game against Georgia Tech.
Could be.
Because I have no idea what state Florida is in, even though they were in a close one. And, at times, maybe we can talk about that one, maybe not. But Mississippi State's been a tough out, but I still think Georgia's better. Texas, we'll get to Texas, but that's a winnable game if you're the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hey, look, a lot of teams sometimes don't look great against Kentucky, but pull out the win against Kentucky. That's sort of the Mark Stoops, mantra. Like, we're not going to beat you, but we're pulling you down to our level.
I don't know. Texas has been playing a lot of Kentuckys this year.
That's true.
For whatever that's worth to you, again, Georgia 43, Ole Miss 35.